Hi friends, this is Bilal Heather and this is the 19th video part. In this video we're going to talk about how we can interact with our components using a C# code. And that's what we are going to do. So let's not waste any time and start it. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating a script and let me call it components. Okay, and let's open it up. Now as we have done in our previous videos when we were talking about transform, and we actually did interacted with our component which was transform, and we used two different methods. First, um, we attached a script to that game object whose transform we want to access and we want to change. So let's say if I drag and drop my script onto here and I want to change this transform here, I will do something like game object dot transform dot position equals some values. Okay, um and if we are doing something like if we are changing transform of some other object, but we have our script attached to, let's say we are changing transform of sphere, but our script is attached to our main camera, and if we want to change the transform of sphere, what we'll need first, we'll need a reference to our sphere object, and then from that we'll access from that reference we'll be able to access the transform component of sphere, and then we'll be able to change its positions or rotation or scale. Okay, but in this video part we are actually going to talk about other components, and when we are talking about other components things get a little different. Okay, and you cannot do something like game object or camera. If your script is attached to this main camera and you want to change some properties of this camera component, you cannot do this by game object or camera. You have to do something else, and that's what we're going to do in here. So first of all, let's not do something with this camera component, but let's do something with this light. Okay, because that will make more sense, and we'll write a simple, very simple code, and we'll interact with the light. So first of all, let's go and drag and drop these component scripts onto our directional light game object, and let's open it. Okay, so whenever we need to interact with a component um, of um, of of the same game object with which the script is attached, so let's say the script is attached to our directional light and we want to access its own light component, then what we'll do first, we'll make a light object, let's say my light, and then under this start function which is used for initialization, we'll write this thing, my light equals game object dot get component, and inside this will these angular brackets will write light, and after that we'll type parentheses and semicolon. So what it will do, it will actually this get component function actually gets the component you want. Okay, and every time a component will be attached to some game object, so that's why we are using this keyword, which is game object, when we are saying game object, we are referencing to the game object with which the script is attached. Okay, so we are talking about directional light here. So game object dot get component light. So this simple line, what it will do, it will go to this game object, go to its component which is light, and it will get it for you. And as we already defined a variable of type light, which is called myLight, we are going to store it, or we are going to initialize this light with the light of our game object. Okay, so this part is pretty much getting the light for you. Okay, it is getting the component for you from that game object. Okay, and now under update, what we'll do, let's do something like myLight dot. Now that we already have a reference to that component, that light component, we can change um, its properties. Everything with P are properties. Okay, I'm going to only change this color property, but you're free to change all these with the P letter here and see what they're doing. Okay, but for this video I'm doing like color dot, let's say, blue. Okay, so what the script will do, whenever we'll play the game, it should get the light component, this one, and change its color to blue. Okay, whenever our game loads, it will get the reference to that component, and when our first frame will be rendered, excuse me, it will change the color of light to blue. Okay, it should do that. Now let's go ahead and try it and see. You can see currently it's white light, so let's play and see if it turns it into red. Okay, so it's not, for some reason it's not changing its color properties. So let's figure out what's wrong. um, Game object dot get component light, my light dot color equals color dot blue. Let's change it to something color dot red maybe, and let's see if it works. Actually, guess what, I think we didn't saved our script, so now let's try that. Okay, so now you can see it does changes the color of our light, and now we have a red light in our scene. The reason why that code was not working, because we didn't save it before running our applications. So make sure when you're doing some coding and you're finished with it, do save it before you go and play the game. Okay, because sometimes you will write the code perfectly and it's right, it has no errors, no warnings, but when you'll play the game, it will not behave as you want it, and the reason will be pretty silly, and that will be you didn't saved that file. Okay, now what here we actually we actually get a reference to a light component, which was the component of that very game object which has the script. Okay, now what we'll do when, let's say, um, we want to change this spheres. Let's say we want to increase its size. Okay, let's say we want to increase its size, and we want its size to be 3x, 3y, and 3z. Okay, and at the start of the game it will be 111. Okay, and we want to do it from this script, and we don't want to write a separate script, and we don't want to attach any script with this sphere game object. Okay, we want to do it from inside this script here. The reason why we are doing this, because sometimes we will be wanting to change some properties of other game objects which are there in our game, but we will be wanting to remain in that same script, and we don't want to create separate scripts for each of these game objects, which properties or which components we want to change. Okay, whether it's a light, whether we are changing its color, whether we are changing its intensity, whether we are changing its bounce intensity through code, whatever. Okay, so this example will show you that how we can do that using the same script, and how we can use that same script to change a component of some another game object. In our case, we are going to change the scale of our sphere. So let's do that. First thing we'll need is a reference to our game object, which uh, which 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 component we are going to change. Okay, so by declaring a variable like this and making it public will allow us to drag and drop our sphere onto here, and now we have a reference to our sphere, and that reference is stored here. So now what's left is that we will simply go and let's do it here. My game object dot transform dot local scale, come on, dot local scale equals new vector 3 3 3 3. So what this local scale is basically a vector 3. So we have to give it a vector 3, and it will set our game object scale to that. Notice that we didn't do something like this here, like my game object equals my game object dot get component, transform. We didn't did something like this. Why? Because if we will do that, it will still work for us. But it will be um, a very long code. And when we are using transforms, we can do it simply by um, having a reference to our um, game object and directly accessing its transform property. We don't need to do this kind of stuff which we have to do with other type of components. Okay, so now let's save it, and now let's play the game. What it should do, um, it should change the color of our light to red, and it should scale up our sphere by 333. So let's see if it does that. Okay, here you can see it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So this sums up about how we can interact with our components using our codes, how we can interact with components um, that that has the script on it, and how we can interact with components of other game objects from the same script. Okay, so this is pretty much all about this video part. I hope you liked it, and please don't forget to like, um, and if you got any question, post under the comments. See you next time. Have fun, take care, and bye bye.